Today's no special list. It's just gonna be tying some. I need at least 2 hair bugs, and then anything else that. Whoa, no. Anything else that tickles our fancy. But we need at least 2 deer hair bugs. Uh-oh. Something happened here. What's going on here? So you can turn off the camera. That's crazy. There's all sorts of little features, stickers you can do. I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, so things that we need, a couple little hair bugs, taking a guy out tomorrow, and we're gonna go after the red-eye fish. A little hair bug will be good for that. I'm curious what you guys are fishing for. Color scheme. Need one that's mostly green, and then one that's a little neutral. Maybe one that's darker. Try to cover that spectrum. Or brighter, maybe red or orange could be good as well. Soon it's caddis season on the rivers here. So you only fish caddis. Summertime is caddis time. I still haven't caught a bass, which is crazy. But I've been fishing some pretty hard water. I could fish a little river or pond, a smaller reservoir. I think it'd be easier. I've been fishing these massive bodies of water. But I haven't caught a bass, which is pretty disappointing for me. Love me some bass. Need a tail material. I'll do some olive schlopping. And a little olive schlopping. Looking at these feathers, which feather is a kind of ugly feather I wouldn't use for anything else. These are pretty ugly. Just 2 of these guys. And maybe wrap it a bit. Wrap them around. Instead of just tying them off, we can give them a few wraps. Not that that matters. pinch wrap that down. The tail's not sitting great, but it doesn't, yeah, there we go, that's better. All right, some her. I'm thinking first small bunch of yellow. I'm gonna tie. This hair is pretty trashy. I'm gonna tie the tips pretty close. Let's check our coverage. Crank down, one more wrap. Need a little on the belly. Crank it. And clear a little zone. We'll do a little dot of orange. And then maybe black inside. Ooh, getting fancy. Getting fancy. Get that tension. And then we'll do our orange. Spread it out a bit. And then we'll do a little dot of black. And we'll advance the thread. Give it a slight pack. There's a debate whether you tie hair directly on a metal hook. Some people think you need to put a thread base down. Some people tie it right on the metal. I don't know who wins that debate. Let's switch it up. Let's do big clump of orange. And then we'll do yellow with black inside. This is like a fire tiger. A little fire tiger. But why I chose olive schlappen for the tail, maybe that was not a good choice. We'll spin this one. A little landing zone. A little bit of yellow. That's more than a little bit. Get some tension. black. Orange is traveling, trying to clear our landing zone. My Denver Nuggets are in trouble. They lost. I think they're down 2-1 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. The NFL draft is happening right now. I'm curious to know what football teams you guys support. I personally am a Denver Broncos fan. I think they drafted a defensive tackle, a running back, and maybe an offensive lineman is what I saw. All good choices. Okay. Tension. Let's find the hook eye. Advance 1, 2, and pack. A little bit more on there, maybe. I think we just end it. Let's tie it off. Oh, here we go. I'm going to read some comments. Fly fishing isn't really done in Korea, you know. Bait like a flying insect. I just got some fly tying stuff. What should I learn? What should I try to learn to tie? Those are great. Congratulations on the tying kit. Fly fishing isn't really done in Korea. There was a boom in the 90s. It became popular and 4 shops opened. Since then, it's declined, but it's not. Fishing had still remained popular, but there has been a massive rise in lure fishing for largemouth bass. Huge boom, and the fly fishing generation is getting older. Are people still doing it? Yes. Do they post about it on the internet? No. Partly because I'd say the average age of a fly fisherman in Korea is over 60. And if you are interested in fly fishing, befriending someone who is in their advanced stages is the way to go. There's an element of mentorship in fly fishing. And these old heads, they know the rivers, they can teach you a lot. Will it come back? No. Just because of the limitations, there's places to fish, but not as many places to fish as there are, fishing in the ocean or fishing for bass. But you can also fly fish for a bass. I'm only talking about trout. Very few people fish for anything other than trout in Korea for fly fishing, but I do. On this week, we'll fish for Numboge, which is a warm water fish in Korea. It's so much fun on the fly rod. There's a ton of carp in Korea you could fish for. Obviously, largemouth bass, which I love. Fishing for largemouth bass has made me a much better fly fisherman, fly angler. Uh-oh, we cut that too short. We are in a pickle now. We have to do an emergency surgery. Emergency surgery. I trimmed up the thread, but I think it'll be okay. Fly fishing is extremely popular in Japan, and then a lot of Korean fly fisher people go elsewhere to fish, which is also an option. The problem with fly fishing that it's a little bit exclusive in terms of the socioeconomic cost of the activity. It's like skiing or golf. However, it is getting cheaper. There's equipment you can get that's still expensive, but not as expensive as it once was, which is a good thing. I tend to prefer that mid-level price band, for equipment. But you should always, if you're gonna start, you should buy the best you can afford. That's what I would recommend. I wouldn't just go cheap. Just get the best stuff you can afford. I started fishing when I was a kid, and I could only do it because my parents and family members, uncles, gave me equipment, hand-me-down equipment, and I think that's how most people get, or many people. That's how many people get introduced to the sport. My parents don't fish, so it was hard for them, but they knew that I liked it, and they reached out to people that did it in their communities to help me out. So I'm grateful to my parents for that. We're gonna go no razor on the back today. We're just gonna scissor it. See how it turns out. This one was almost a disaster. During the pandemic, fly fishing grew in popularity in America. Lots of people tried it out. And then the industry got excited. They thought it was gonna last. Obviously, it didn't, 'cause it takes more than a few years to learn it. But people try, which is good. It's getting there. We gotta take this down a little bit more. The number one recreational activity in Korea is still hiking. Korean people love hiking. All right, let's work on this face. I said I wouldn't razor the back, so I won't. The back needs some work. So a very temporary, quick way to sharpen your scissors is to chop through some tin foil. It lasts maybe a couple cuts, but you can get a little bit sharper. Only if you have cheap scissors. These are super cheap scissors. Running has become a popular activity. It's hard to start a hobby when you're middle-aged. If you are able to start when you're young, it's such a blessing. You can take a break. Obviously, there are time constraints. But my wife only studied when she was young. And so it's been hard for her to develop new hobbies. I think our surgery worked. It's a little bit loose. I think we need one more. Drop in there, soak it in. This one's rough. A little better. But I like the color, the orange and the yellow and the black. It's pretty good color, I think. Throw some leggies on there. I just have dark brown here, so that's what I'm going to use. I don't think the leg color matters. We'll get our toothpick, a little bit of glue. This is a quick and dirty tie. All right, we need another one that same size. How are we looking? We got some more comments. The largemouth bass weren't there before. Correct, largemouth bass, that was a failed agricultural aquaculture experiment. Korea used to be very poor, extremely poor. And I think post-war, 50s-ish, they were looking for new sources of food, one of which was bass. It didn't, in terms of like a food source, it didn't last very long, but the bass spread very quickly because Korea's waterways are very much interconnected, and every summer there's a monsoon, so everything floods, and the bass got spread out basically all over the country. And I'm probably in the 90s, the sport fishing took off, and there was no hope of controlling the bass population. Catch and release. Local governments do like a bounty program, but it's turned into more subsistence for local people. And it's, a harvest is necessary. Bass are not considered a food item anymore. So these locals harvest the fish, but the result is it improves the fishery. The fish that are able to spawn in greater numbers. There's the quality is better. So the effort to manage turns into an effort to an improvement in the fishery. And then there are those, they tried this spearing campaign, which was extremely successful, too successful that the local people kind of blocked the boat ramps, so the spear fishermen couldn't get in. The spear fishermen were also participating in a bounty program. But the local guys who set nets, they felt like their livelihoods were threatened. These spear guys were too effective. And so they blocked the boat ramps. And the spear guys, and there's not enough spear fishermen to hit every single lake in Korea. And what's more, then there's the main river, the main artery of Korea is called the Han River. And the Han River is a defensive position against North Korea, so they don't allow any kind of fishing or boats or anything in the Han River, because it's very closely monitored. Technically, a North Korean could float down the Han River into Seoul. And so they really restrict any kind of recreational boat traffic or activity on that river. But as long as there's bass in the Han River, which there are, they can spread out anywhere in the country. And so it's been a losing battle. I haven't heard anybody. 15 years ago, I heard people talking about like kill all the bass, but these days, haven't heard anything. Not a whisper. It's quite humorous. And then there is a stocked trout business in Korea. One popular winter festival is called the Ice Fishing Festival, and they raise stock trout for that. And then after that festival is over, the people who raise the trout don't want to feed them anymore, so they just dump them in the river. And that's there is a brown trout population in one river in Korea because of a guy who just didn't want to raise his fish anymore and dumped them, or they were taking too long to grow, so he just dumped them. There is not a lot of resource management. America does a great job of that. European countries as well. I was fishing in Holland, and they do a really nice job of managing their natural resources. Will Korea ever do it? No. There's so many other social issues happening that the fish population or the ability to recreationally fish is not on anybody's radar in terms of things that need to get fixed in this country. That's the situation. Let's use some pheasant rump. Old pheasant rump. I usually don't do an odd number of feathers, but for this one we'll do an odd number of feathers. Do this fluffy guy in the middle. And we'll do these guys on either side. We'll try to get the pretty side of the feather. Thin that out so we get a better tie-in point. But I didn't start fly fishing in Korea. I started fly fishing in Colorado because that's where I was raised. I've only lived in Korea as an adult. Need to do a better job of our thread management for this one, so we don't hack off the thread like we did last time. What should the colors be? Let's start natural. Just spin that. Advance. Let's do another clump of that. I've been thinking about like a honeybee pattern. but I haven't quite gotten the concept down yet. Okay. Let's throw in some. This will just be a highlighting color. We'll make that real thin. And then we can do, let's do another highlighting color. And then we'll go to a little spot of green. One unique thing about Korea is the water is really clean in the mountains where the trout live. The biggest threat to the fish population is development, agricultural development. Sediment has killed a lot of rivers in Korea. But they survive because of that rainy season. It kind of flushes sediment and fertilizer, gives the river another fighting chance. But certainly, the environment is not great for the fishes. I'm gonna skip the green on that side. Oh, but maybe we go back to a little bit of the darker green. Okay, get some tension. Oh, too much tension. But you have to do it. That's necessary. Too much tension. What do we do now? Can we save this? I don't know. Breaking your thread on a hair fly is a rite of passage. You know you're doing it right. I wasn't using super strong thread either. That's part of the problem. There's some amazingly strong thread these days. But the thread can't be too thin or it'll cut through the hair. It can't be too thick because this pattern is quite small. That's why I was using this 100, 210 actually. I don't know if I can save this. I need to advance quickly. The problem is going to be trimming this out. it's not sitting low enough. But we'll get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Okay. Let's just do one clump of the dark and then see if we can save this fly. Where do you get your hooks from? I buy my hooks wholesale from a hook seller. Korea has a lot of manufacturing, something that America is trying to reestablish. But there's a lot of small factories. Most fly fishing equipment comes from Asia. For example, graphite, hooks, Japan, China, Korea make hooks. There's no American company. Eagle Claw used to have a factory, but I don't know if it's still around. But there's no fly fishing company that I know of that makes hooks in America. They're all made in Asia. And fly fishing rods, most of them, the materials are sourced in Asia. They might wrap them in America, but almost all the graphite is coming from Asia. So Asia is is a huge part of the fly fishing industry in terms of supply chain. Fly tying materials also come from Asia. A lot of that is changing now, will change if the tariffs, America continues its tariffs. The industry doesn't have huge profit margins. It's very sensitive. And so there was a boom in businesses in America. Little rod companies popped up because they could get cheap materials from China, and then it would say like designed in the USA or something like this. I think it created options for people, which is good. But all of it might change soon. I think there'll be a couple big players. I think a lot of the smaller players will kind of die a slow death. Their costs will increase. Yeah, right. We'll be able to save this one. It's got a kind of a psychedelic belly. Why I put that green spot on the top is beyond me. I shouldn't have done that. Looks real dumb. Okay. Hooks have the biggest markup of any product. I don't know that for a fact. Just in my experience, when I saw the prices of wholesale hooks versus the retail price of hooks, it was extraordinary. I think my hooks cost like 15 cents a hook, but I had to buy 1,000 of them. In one shot, I spent maybe $2,000 on hooks, but I will never have to buy another hook for the rest of my life. And then in the fly shop, they sell hooks in like packs of 15 or 20, and you're paying almost 50 cents a hook, I think. So the markup is pretty extraordinary, and that's because of the packaging. You buy hooks in them, like these are popular. This is a 20 count. I don't know exactly how much this costs, maybe $7 or $8. But they give you this little plastic case, whereas my hooks come in a bag of 1,000. Their quality control is an issue. Some of those hooks are pretty janky. No one sat through and checked if each hook was perfect. So buying hooks retail, I think there's more assurance that the product quality is better. But I did a lot of testing before I made that purchase, the hook purchase. But even before I was live streaming these YouTubes, I was tying every day. Just kind of part of my morning ritual. Tie a fly. I would do a few smaller orders too, but that's a tough way to make a living, is tying flies commercially. Whew. Tough way to make a living. I don't even think you can make pocket money. I shouldn't be cutting that face. I should use the razor for the face. A little bit tall. A wee bit tall. Let's try to get this clean. Take it out of the vise. Much easier. That's enough. Get some legs and then move on to the next. Where did the brown rubber legs go? Where did our brown rubber legs go? These are not the same brown rubber legs. They are brown rubber legs. Sinking those legs is proving a bit problematic because of our earlier mishap. Oh, son of a gun. So, yeah, that's not good. It's not good at all. This one's pretty weak. And then I also didn't do a good job of cleaning the hair. So the hair, there's a lot of under fur I'm seeing. That means the tie-in isn't clean. Another mistake. Sometimes you can use a lighter to singe it out, but anyway, it'll work for what we need. It'll work for what I'm gonna pinch these barbs right now so I don't have to do it on the water. This is one we tied a couple days ago. It turned out much better because we didn't rush it. Okay. That might be it for today. Let's check the time. We got a little bit more time. All right. Let's check comments. Fly tying stuff. Largemouth bass weren't there before in Korea. Where did you get your hooks? I got a sogayaling fly rod and reel, and it's pretty good. Hell yeah. Good for you, man. Good for you. What weight is your rod and reel? That's a good question. I'm trying to think of something fun to tie. Something fun that would be useful. Something fun that would be useful. I'm just pulling out this big old hook. A heavy fly would be useful. Dark and heavy would be useful. Dark and heavy would be useful. These are tungsten beads. But the question is, how many tungsten beads do I throw on this pattern? I'll do 2. Now another question is, where do I put them? 2 doesn't necessarily guarantee the fly will sit right side up. You tie them in on the belly, then could kind of get in the way of that hook gap. You can tie them in on the side like eyes, but that looks real dumb. So let's get our monofilament. tie in our monofilament. Let's thread on our beads. These are slotted, but it doesn't really matter what kind of bead you use. And then double that back over. And I'm going to put a wrap in between the beads. A wrap behind the beads. Side, a little glue on the side. That's a lot. Look, that's it for a minute. Let's figure out this tail. It'd be nice if the fur was kind of pointing up. I think that would be nice. So let's pierce it midway. Then while that glue is drying, oh, that fur is trying to get on that glue. That's not good. Let that sit for a minute. You got more comments. What do we got? I didn't know what that meant when I bought it, so I got a 7/8 weight is good rod for warm water fishing. It's the line weight. Every rod has and reel have a line weight. A 7/weight rod casts a heavier 7/weight line or 8/weight line. The taper of the line has more mass. So a 3/weight rod, the line is thinner. It gives you a more delicate presentation. You're fishing for trout or panfish. You're throwing smaller flies. A 7 or 8/weight rod, you're throwing bigger flies or heavier rigs. Indicator rig. Bigger water, but you can do a lot with a 7/weight, 8/weight. You can do a lot, so it's a good one to have. I go by even numbers. Everybody has a system. When you start fly fishing, you're gonna buy more than one rod. Most people start with a 5, but I like to start with a 4. And then I fish a 2 is my light rod. Most people fish a 3. And then a 6, I fish a 6 and an 8. The 8 is the heaviest. I haven't done any like serious saltwater fishing. Serious saltwater fishing requires a 10. But I like to go by evens. Most people though, the 5, the 3, the 7, a 9. I think the 8 is more popular than fishing a 9/weight. Yeah, but you'll buy lots of rods. Pay attention to the material of the rod, the action. There's moderate action rods, a little bit more flex. There's fast action rods. With most rods these days are fast action rods. Just the tip is flexing, the base of the rod is stronger, a little bit more forgiving to cast. The rods are made out of fiberglass, bamboo, graphite. Yeah, fly rods are good. Good luck with that, man. Hope we catch a big one. We got to situate this. Okay, got it through. So we pierced our zonker strip, this is a strip of rabbit fur, one of the best materials to tie with. Our weight is on the bottom, so technically our fly is gonna ride hook point up, which is what we want. It's not a lot of weight though. It'll sink, but not very well. And then we want our rabbit strip to also ride hook point up. But did we do this correctly? No, we didn't. How the heck? Let me see, we gotta do this again. Might have to reverse it. Here's a barb on there still. Let's get that barb. Let's take that barb down. Okay, so we want our hair this way, so we want to come through this way. Yeah, that's what we want. Which is kind of weird, because then we have to tie this on the underside. That's really weird. I would classify this as a worm style fly, but it could be a bait fish. Obviously this is for largemouth bass. We'll throw some rubber legs on there. I could have just tied it in from that point. I don't know why we had to pierce it. Sometimes this will foul up, which is a pain, but it's a necessary evil. Let's go ahead and figure out our head scheme. I know I want rubber. Get some rubber in there. A little purple. I got some old material I used. Oh yeah, this was the synthetic hair. This was a good technique. This was a great technique. So this stuff is very cheap. This synthetic hair, and you can tie it. Most people are just tied in straight, but I don't really like the action it gives. So I've been crinkling it up. Let's put a little pink in there. I've been crinkling it up. Let's chop this a bit. Cut it in sections. Okay, so the fibers are now shorter. And instead of just like tying them in a bunch, I'm gonna mess them up and make a ball. And then tear that ball up. That's good. Let's add, we had extra rabbit fur we cut off from our strip. We'll add that in there. And this is now becoming a blended dubbing. Synthetic, natural. We have some flash, we'll throw that in there. All kinds of good stuff. And you can tie this in bunches. You can dub it, which is cool. You can do a lot with it. I'm going to add a little bit more flash. A little bit of greeny. A little bit of green flash in there. And then for when we tie this in, we need kind of two bunches. We'll do one bunch here. And I want the material to distribute, and then we'll kind of preen. And then we'll do a bunch around those beads. Oh, in the middle of those beads, yep. And then distribute and preen. And then we'll do a bunch toward the head. Before we tie it in, let's add our rubber legs. We'll do some legs on this side. I don't do this a lot, but I'm just gonna extend this on this side. Tighten it down. It's just the fast, dirty way to tying the legs. I don't like it because it's got a lot of buildup. It gets a lot of buildup when you tie in that rubber. And let's finish the head with some more material. The more the merrier. Let's find our eye. And then we'll whip finish. And then we pick it out. picker. There it is. We're gonna lose a lot of this stuff, which is good. You don't want to rip it, you just want to pick it. And we can preen, see what we're working with. Keep picking. Start trimming. I'm just gonna go on this face first. Around that face. I gotta control my legs so we don't cut them off. I'm gonna come up a little bit here. On the belly. Take out that material. Got a little mohawk right there. What the heck? This did not need rubber legs. There we go. Let's throw some eyeballs on there to shore up the head. Some red eyes. Yellow, golden eyes. Golden eyes. Careful with our rubber legs. Set the eyes. A little bit more here. That's kind of a creature fly. got our eyeball off. This is going to be tricky. We might need new glue on the fingers. Is never good. Here we go. All right. Gotta clip it. Let that set. I'll put him right there. A productive day of tying. I have too many spinning rods, so it's more like an experiment. Yeah. Spinning rods, I only have one. I only have one, and it's longer than my fly rod. I use it to throw the metal jigs in the ocean. But spinning rods are good. Also very pricey. I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a good week. Tie, fish, do what you do, and we'll catch you next time. I appreciate you guys.